YouTube, which I'm doing right now. So
Okay.
we are live to the public as of now. So anything we say or do is visible by them. I know Jamie from Chagrin Documentary Film Fest will be joining us.
Right.
So let me see if,
And maybe Mary Ann, if she wasn't sure.
okay. We have a couple of attendees, Jamie and Larry Trace and Daniel Wingenfeld are in attendance watching.
Okay.
If at any point you want me to invite them into the conversation, I'll have to do some administrative things to allow them. But other than that, it's just the group here discussing. And when you're ready to invite public to speak, then let me know and we'll do so.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and start the meeting.
Okay. It is about 8:35. Yeah, 8:35. We need to approve the minutes for the February 25th meeting. So could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. And the first item is the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival application.
And,
Yeah,
or Christy, actually, Daniel Wingenfeld, could you let him into the meeting, or her? It's actually Mary Ann,
oh, okay.
okay? Christy?
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I was muted. Yes, I'm doing
That's
so
okay.
right now.
Okay.
I apologize, my mute was on.
I wasn't sure that you heard me. Okay, thank you.
And for any attendee that's listening that doesn't have the ability to speak, there is a raise your hand function. So anytime during the meeting, Jamie or Larry, if you have a question or you want to pipe in any way, just use the raise your hand function and I'll be monitoring that feature as to let you in. Nancy, should I let Jamie in as a person
Yeah,
for Film Fest
yes.
also? Okay, I'll do that
Jamie
right
has-
away.
Yeah,
We'll just do that right at the beginning. Every meeting is run a little bit differently. There she is. Super. Okay, carry on, Ann. Thank you.
Okay, we have an application from the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival that's slightly different from the original one. And I talked with Jamie last night about it, so she sent me a new version, which Christy, you should have too. But what they want to do is from October 7th through Sunday, October 11th, is have a small screen in Riverside Park where they're going to screen films free to the public. And then they're going to have another small screen that will be over near the hardware store showing film trailers. They also want to light up the falls at the dam as they have in the past. So Jamie, have I stated that correctly?
Can I speak?
Mary Ann, the last that I heard, we were going to have trailers near the hardware store, but Mary Ann has changed her mind.
No, we only have access to 2 LED screens. One will be used at the drive-in and the other, we're going to move from, typically it's on the side of the hardware store. We're just going to scooch it over so it's centered in the park. And we'll have trailers and things running on that, and then also show some shorts programs, but just free and open and with social distancing.
So on the brick pavers there?
That's what we're thinking. We've got to get the exact layout, but around there.
Okay.
We this year are just so trying to have any kind of a feeling of a festival. And that'll help us. And it just, we don't care. People we'll just make it free and try to make it fun. But it's difficult to
It's
have a
challenging.
feeling. Yes. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. I think it's nice that you're letting people just come free,
Mhm.
because that's what you did when you showed the Grove Hill movie, and there was such a
Yeah.
good feeling there when everybody was enjoying it.
Yeah, that's so we're besides this, you don't need to hear this necessarily, but we're trying to come up with other ideas, music from a couple rooftops or something, just to, first place, get people into the village and into our merchants and restaurants, but just to create, just to
Mhm.
say, hey, our spirit is still there. We're not going anywhere. We're just
Right.
separated for now. So, yeah.
And you'll put up your flags all over town.
Yes. Yeah. Our
That's
wonderful
great.
JCs will be doing that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion that we approve this use of the park.
Second,
Great. Okay. So I think everything's all set for the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival. So thanks, Marianne and
Thank
Jamie.
you. Thanks, everybody. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you.
thanks,
All right.
Jamie, Marianne.
Thank you.
The second thing on the agenda is the parks use application discussion, which Nancy's been working on. And Katie had sent a copy of it, which I already had from before, because we revised this in January of this year, but then Nancy felt there were a few things that needed to be changed. So Nancy, if you want to tell us about that.
So the facilities committee, council's facilities committee is looking at this also. And every time I think I get something right, and Christy can attest to this. We had a facilities committee meeting. Every time I think I get something right, either Dale says it's wrong or somebody else doesn't like it. This is really very difficult to be inclusive enough. And then we're so inclusive that it seems like the parks could turn, at least to me anyway, this is my opinion, that the parks could turn into a free-for-all. We've been talking about, so right now, there's a time for Riverside Park closes at 11 and reopens at 6. So you're not allowed to be in the park between 11 at night and 6 in the morning. That's now. We posted some signs to that effect. At one point, I don't know, several weeks ago, before the signs were up, some guys were camping in there. I don't know if you noticed that, Anne.
I sure did. It
We're
was
aware of
right
that,
outside my house.
Yeah, so that's what I didn't call you because I didn't want to stir it up. But in any event, so we've got the signs, so that park's okay. So then in the meantime, we thought that we should have, since this is an issue apparently coming up this year of people camping in the parks, that we should put time limits on all the parks.
Mhm.
So I guess I apparently have a very different view than at least most of the rest of council. They started writing something to actually, that would actually give the impression that camping wasn't permitted in Riverside Park, with a lot of limitations, but it was there so that there was a permit available. I personally don't think that's a good idea. To me, we shifted the conversation to Riverside Park instead of River Run Park, which is
You mean,
where the exception was brought up to say that, the Boy Scouts do camp there once in a while. How do we allow that? So I have my ideas of how that should be allowed. And then they were also concerned with Awesome Art by the Falls. And again, I have my opinion of those two functions being totally different, separate, outside of the normal realm and requiring special separate permits to do things. And so we're working that through. I personally don't think that let me turn that around. I think that all the parks, all of them, Riverside, River Run, Triangle, Bell Street, Franklin, Whitesburg, and probably some that I'm forgetting to name, should be closed from 11 at night till 6 in the morning. That's my personal opinion. And then the cemetery, which is public property, we're actually talking about all public property. The cemetery has its own hours, which are sunrise to sunset. And I guess there's some certain special reasons for that. So those could stay like that.
mhm.
So it's, again, it's really kind of up in the air. I don't know what you guys think about something like that, but that's kind of.
I agree with you, Nancy. I think that all the parks should be treated the same as far as the hours that they're open and closed. And I think and it seems to me, when I attended one of the council meetings, there was a discussion about just having camping once per year in River Run Park for the Boy Scouts. And that seems reasonable.
Well, right, but it's probably not, not something that we can legally do, is to
Oh,
only,
really?
yeah, maybe, I don't know. Were you at the last council meeting?
Yes,
Well, then you heard all this discussion.
I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Is someone objecting to having the same hours for all the other parks?
I'm not sure, because the ordinance that was presented, that Dale wrote up and presented, is one that permits park overnight camping at Riverside Park and not the others. I don't know, it's around somewhere. I don't know. I could send it to you after the meeting. I don't think I can find it right this minute, but I could send you the ordinance, the original one that was on our agenda.
But why would he put it for Riverside instead of River Run?
Again, that's my concern with this whole thing, is that
Mhm.
we were talking about Riverside and the Boy Scouts as being an exception. And then all of a sudden we get this ordinance and it's Riverside. And the reason it turned into a Riverside discussion was because of Blossom. And there's some concern for Blossom. And I guess Art by the Falls would fall into that category. I think, again, I think that those are special circumstances that could be dealt with differently. That's
Mhm.
my personal opinion. So I'm not speaking for the law director or for the board, but that's the direction that I'm headed in. So, and then River Run wasn't even mentioned in that. So I guess we'll have another committee meeting and talk about it some
Okay.
more.
Mm.
So I don't know
So-
how do your others feel about parks in general and I guess village-owned property
Mm.
about this issue. Oh, closing the parks overnight or opening them, or anybody?
Mm.
I think there ought to be for sure a moratorium on that for time limit, close them down at night. And wouldn't they have to fill out a special request form
yes,
for
yes.
camping overnight?
Yes, there definitely would be a permit for any of these uses, but
We can deny that. No?
well, that's right.
That's a legality.
Well, then you'd have to allow anybody. My concern personally is that even suggesting that you can use it by offering a permit. Okay, by offering a permit, we're saying, there's a use there for you. That even, unless we make the permit ridiculously onerous, then, what would stop a bunch of kids from getting a permit and going in park overnight? How do you distinguish then at that point, once you offer a permit? How do you control that? You can
Right.
have somebody there every night, every weekend. And
Right. So this is something for the law director, obviously, I guess.
right. Well, that's where we are.
Right.
I did something the law director, didn't like it. I understand why, but nevertheless, it's that's
So there are
why
two questions.
to me personally, a total ban is just easier, and that's legal. Nope, no permits available.
I agree.
And especially now, if we did that, if we did that, nobody's doing anything right now anyway. There's no Blossom, there's no Art by the Falls, and it would keep out the summertime campers or any random people right now wanting to camp there. And we could just work on it then.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It goes, because again, it's a big conversation.
Mhm.
And the precedent really is that people don't camp there. So it's not like we're turning people away that have always wanted to go there. There's never really been a history of people camping in Riverside Park.
Right, and that was right. And I wrote a thing up, but it's a public record, so I could send it to you. Why and that was one of my main concerns, is that we've never allowed overnight, notwithstanding Blossom and Art by the Falls, and whether or not people in those events sleep in their tents or something. I don't know what they do. I'm not there in the middle of the night. But even with those events, we have closed the park at 11 and open it at 6.
Right. Well, Metro Parks, they close in the evening and there's no camping there, correct?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
so,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah, yeah, they have a closing time and I've always understood that you can't camp in the metro parks.
Okay,
Look it up for what their
yeah,
are and be done with it.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree.
one question would be, do the metro parks ever have a special event that they allow it? And if they do, how do they manage that? In a way that doesn't say, yes, all you have to do is fill out this permit and there's a process and then you camp.
right.
It's,
Okay, well, we can check on that. I thought somebody had gotten the Metro Parks rules, but I hadn't looked, I had forgotten to look at those. Thank you.
I think we did get those from Dale for that when we were talking about First Amendment rights.
Right, a while
Somewhere
back.
in my file, I think I have it.
Yeah, I probably do too, somewhere.
I believe there is certain camping allowed in the Cleveland Metro Parks in certain areas. I'll try to send out an email with a few links to that.
Okay. I know 100 years ago, I went trail riding and camping in the Metro Parks. We started out in Hunting Valley and rode and then camped overnight somewhere, I don't know, and we followed the Emerald Necklace around on horseback and then camped and then rode and then spent the night, 2 nights, 3 days. But that
That
was
was
a
fun.
really long time ago.
I have another question about park applications. There have been times when people have gone to the police and to use parks. And to me, that's very confusing. I think it should be that they go to one entity, Parks Commission.
Well, I'm not sure if you're speaking of a special example, but the police are in charge of the streets and sidewalks
Mhm.
for the use of them, I guess you'd call it. So the group that wanted to march down the street a couple of months ago, that
You mean
that
the
is-
protest?
yes, that is the police that permitted that.
Right.
And I guess the protest itself didn't get a permit. And again, that's one of the issues about permitting and free speech and stuff like that. You know, people gathering there to speak and they didn't get a permit and I'm not sure how that works, so.
Is the plaza area at the entrance to Riverside Park considered part of the park or the sidewalks?
Technically, I couldn't answer that,
Because that's where they met for both protests.
right?
And the police
Oh, I
were
would think
there.
the
And
right- I would think the right-of-way line from the street would be considered the sidewalk as it, crosses or is considered part of North Main Street. But everything outside the right-of-way would be considered the park.
But that highlights the difficulty with the park permit. You know, people gathering there, even going into the park as a group like that and speaking is a lawful use. And it would be, I mean, you can ask them to get a permit, but if people come together at the last minute, which this was sort of a, couple days beforehand.
right. But didn't they have a permit from the
I don't-
police?
well, not a park permit from the police. They had permission from the police to walk
Okay.
down the street, yes. Yeah, because I think they were on the sidewalk, but
Yes.
So where shall we leave this today? Nancy, you'll continue working with facilities on this?
working on it. I mean, any of you in particular who have an idea or an opinion, either, write something up. We'll have a utilities meeting. I can try to remember to email you about it if you want to attend a committee meeting, because facilities rather, I keep doing that, facilities, because that's the council committee that's involved with the parks and the application and so forth. Or any of you, any of your thoughts, I'm always glad to listen, or put something in writing and email it.
I think Christy had a comment to make about the application. Isn't that right, Christy?
Christy too, yeah, definitely Christy's opinion.
I'm here. Yeah,
Do you-
I just think are we discussing the format of the application now?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it certainly needs some of an overhaul. There are aspects to it that are outdated, that are not relevant, and other aspects that need to be added. I don't have specific examples in my mind at the moment, but I just think that as a group, and I'd be happy to be a part of the discussion, there could be a clearer form that have the parks individually listed and that have a submittal date, just a couple of other types of things that would make it a lot clearer.
I agree. I think that's an excellent suggestion, Christy, especially since some of the parks might require slightly different applications. And maybe it would be easier to, there could be different rules for different parks, theoretically anyway.
I know that when I reserved Russell Uplands in Geauga County just recently, their website was very organized, and you'd click on the park that you wanted to reserve, and then, you could figure out what use you wanted for that park, and then there was an email link, and then they sent you the proper form that you needed.
Is that, Greta, is that a Geauga park?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's interactive too, which I think is really, really helpful, that you can fill it out online. Is that right, Greta?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea because most people want to do that now, and we don't have that ability with our application, do we, Christy?
No, not currently. Currently, it's just a simple PDF that people typically
Right.
handwrite, and it's easy enough to turn that into a typable form.
Mhm.
But I haven't moved forward on any of those things because we've talked about revamping
Mhm.
the form itself. So I haven't done any work moving forward. In addition, I'm not sure if I have that authority or if Parks Commission creates that form, or if it's a role of the administrative team here to create that form. Can you speak to that, Ann or Rob?
Well, Debbie did it before. I mean,
Right, but I think facilities, the council facilities and council will work on it, at least maybe not the format of it, but the content.
So it sounds like really more of a combination of the two.
Yes.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and
certainly,
with input from everybody with how it'll work, but I mean, I think ultimately it's going to be council, in the final analysis of the permit and its
Sure.
its format and
Sure.
structure and what the requirements are.
sure. For starters, I can simply look at functionality of some sort of online tool versus a printed form, and then come up with a few ideas that for modifications to the form and present them to you as a jumping off point.
I think that would be really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah,
I do too.
definitely.
Okay, I'll put that on my to-do list. Happy to.
Great, thank you. All right, I do have some miscellaneous things here. One is that Chagrin Yoga had originally applied to use Triangle Park for their yoga classes, but because of COVID-19, they haven't had any. And so I spoke last night with Robin Peavy from Chagrin Yoga, who has asked if they can do it in Riverside instead. And I don't see any problem with that. I mean, we approved this use for Triangle. So the reason she wants to move to Riverside is that she can lay it out in a more socially distanced way.
Mhm.
And she's hoping that she can do it every Saturday during the months of August and September.
Ann,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
Christy.
Uh-huh.
I spoke with Robin, and I just want to interject a couple of things that she had made mention of. One
Okay.
is regarding the social distancing, and she has a lot of ideas on how to make it very clear to create individual space for each person attending. So she's very conscious about keeping people distanced and taking responsibility for providing that guidance to those
Mhm.
attending. So I think that's important to know. I'll come back with the second idea because it left my brain.
I have a question.
Is there any liability for something like that? You know, having people gather in a park and somebody comes back and says, "Oh, I got COVID because of yoga." I don't know, but is the city liable?
I do not
I-
know.
I'm-
I don't believe so. I mean, obviously, if somebody wants to file a complaint, if some rule wasn't followed, they could do that through the health department, and the health department enforces that. I think that would be the first step if there's some issue being curtailed. I think if it was a group that wasn't as focused on attention to the guidelines by the state, we might have more of a concern. Sounds
Yeah.
like this, the whole reason that they're moving it is to be more in compliance.
Right,
Everybody says, oh, you know, there's somebody there that's not following the rules, you know, direct them to the health department. And that's what we've been doing when people have been calling us about complaints throughout the village.
yeah,
Okay.
but
The
this
health
would be a
department's been
village, this
working
would
with
be a
us.
village sanctioned event, so they would have to wear masks. And are we still under the no gathering more than 10 people rule?
Ooh. I'll find that out and I'll let you know.
Because if we are, there's, you know, that could be a concern.
Because she's estimating 100 people.
Well, and they'd all have to wear masks.
Mhm.
That's
They would.
that's an awful lot of people. I don't know.
100 is a lot, yeah.
100 is a lot. I mean, we might be more than 10, but I don't think we're at 100 for gathering.
Yeah, I'm researching that.
Yeah, because I mean, if it's on village property, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, legally, I couldn't answer that, but it certainly looks bad for us
Mhm.
to have something like that. I mean, that's why the film festival is having, you know, not actually having an event there per se. Because it would be too many people.
Hmm. So it might be something where there is a check-in desk and people, if we exceed a number, people get turned away.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't, yeah.
And that would be something Robin would have to organize, I would think.
Right. I mean, we'd have to know what the number is. So,
Yeah.
But the
yeah.
problem is there a problem with that the park is a public space and anyone's allowed to be there and you can't section off space and turn people away because it's a public property?
Well, we can't section it off and she would, I mean,
Right.
she couldn't section it off in any event.
No,
But, and if, again, you know, I don't know totally what the legality would be. If a bunch of people just came there randomly and there were too many people there, that's one thing. But if this is an event that we're in a sense, giving a permit to, and it's gonna have 100 people, that, I don't know the answer to that. That would be, you know, a Dale question, law director question.
She has definite plans for how she's going to separate each area for each
It isn't just-
participant.
Yeah, it isn't just the separation, it's
The number.
do the
Yeah.
current state guidelines permit that many people?
Mhm.
Or the Cuyahoga County, I know Cuyahoga County isn't a mask requirement.
Right.
You know, everybody's supposed to wear a mask. I mean, you go out and you don't see everybody wearing a mask, but they're all supposed to. But if you have a village event, or it's not a village event, but it's an event that the village sanctions on its own, on its property, then, you know, I think that we would at least be responsible for making sure that they follow the rules or any, same.
I think the mask requirement says you have to wear a mask if you cannot be socially distant. I think that's what the mask mandate is, which would mean if everybody was very much spaced out, I don't think that would run afoul of the mask mandate. I do think that there is the continued state guidance on numbers in a gathering. And I
Okay,
agree that if we're going to permit something, whatever we permit, regardless of mitigation measures that are taken, I think that if we're going to permit an event, we can't run afoul of state
Right.
recommendations
Right.
on what an event is.
yes, exactly, yeah.
How
just
are
a
we,
heads up.
how are we handling the baseball that's going on down there? I mean, I saw there had to be at least 50, 60 people down there for the baseball games.
You
How
mean
is
at
that-
River
how's that
Run?
handled?
At River Run,
Yeah,
have they gotten a permit for it?
I don't know. I mean, there were
Christie?
People down there,
Well,
kids,
it's just for the baseball field there, right? There's every
Right.
summer there's.
I don't know that, does CAA ever get permits to use those fields or on an annual basis? This is.
They haven't in the past. They just,
No.
it's always just been kind of a, I guess they use that other field at Founder's Field too.
Right.
Yeah, so my
And-
answer is no, I've not received
No,
or
I-
purchased any permit for any park for sports.
Yeah,
they were
that's,
down there in droves last weekend.
that's been some other arrangement. I'm pretty sure there's some other arrangement. I don't know what that arrangement is, but that's what my understanding is, that we were gonna look into it. I think Aaron was gonna look at it, or somebody was going to, at what they do, the athletic. um,
Well, back to the yoga question. I feel like, I know that Robin, because I talked with her too, because I teach there. Just, I think I should say that. That she had some really good ideas about spacing, but I'd love to hear that a little bit more, because how are you going to maintain, people come with their family and they're like, well, we're a group, we can be close together, we live together. It does seem a little, if the number were to get that high, it seems a little dicey.
Well, again, I mean, I think Jeff's right. We need to find out exactly what those rules are in terms of groups, masks, and so forth in the state and Cuyahoga County. Because it seemed like Cuyahoga County had a few different rules at this point. I mean, I haven't read them, so I don't know precisely what they are. But we should find out what those are, and then somebody should talk to Robin. I mean, I'm definitely in favor of having something. you
Right.
know.
Right, but it should be
Mhm.
safe, yeah.
Right.
And I think the reality is that a socially distanced outdoor event would have incredibly low risk of transmission based on everything we know. It's just, there's also just what the rules say.
Exactly,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, so I mean, personally, I'm in favor of it. I just would want her to, understand what the rules are so that, we could comply with them. That's all.
And
Yep.
this is Christy. In my communication with her and in writing, we have spoken about always adhering to any COVID-19 state and local guidelines. So she's aware that that is a requirement of this gathering, and should those requirements change, the event changes as well.
Okay.
So does she need us to approve that?
Well, I don't believe so, because she was approved earlier this year for Yoga by the Falls.
But that was Triangle Park, right?
That was Triangle Park. So because the park is available, it's up to you whether you need to approve it again. And we've had this discussion. Do you want to pipe in?
Yeah, my first reaction was, yeah, we've already approved this, so why not? But that was before COVID came along and all these restrictions were put in place. So I honestly don't know. I think we need to find out for sure how many people could gather there according to the county and state ordinances.
Well, I mean, I think I trust Robin to be careful and know what she's doing. And I think that we could approve it contingent on, understanding what the rules are, which we don't know what they are either.
Right.
I'm looking into that right now.
And then one other thing I would ask her to do is to make sure that there was enough space on both sides of, like, if she stayed to the center part of the park, up toward the front is fine, but so that people could walk down the sides, either side of her group.
Right, so we're not restricting access to the playground or anything like that.
Exactly, right.
Right.
So that on both sides of wherever her, say, rectangle of people is, that there's enough room for people to pass on either side so that they could get to the park. I mean, get back into the park easily, without feel like they're interfering or somebody's growling and stepping on
That's pretty
someone's
much
toes.
standard protocol for any park event, aside from Blossom, is that they don't
Yeah.
prohibit any other public access, that those access points are always open.
Right. Well, it's just a reminder, that's all. Because the yoga is a spread out thing, and I could see people spreading out, wanting a little bit room and.
When I talked with her last night, she said that there are some people who will definitely want to be on a harder surface than the grass. So it wouldn't have to be on the sidewalk. It could be in the plaza part.
Yeah, that's okay too. For me anyway, I mean,
Mhm.
Hey, Rob,
So
how much goose grease is up there?
the geese don't go up there. They're
don't?
farther toward me because they want to be where the new grass seed is.
Okay, you say so.
Hey, I'm there in that
Call
park
yoga
almost
at your
every
own
day.
risk.
All right.
And what's interesting to me is how many people are in the park all the time, not wearing masks. There are these bands of kids that are sitting on the bleachers, or, you know, it's like a free-for-all. And I just keep my mouth shut and wear my mask. But I don't know what to say.
well, that, people gathering there, at least they don't have a permit from us to use the park. So,
Right. Right. I see the difference. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think we should approve this, for now, and see if we can find out something else about a limit to the number of people who can be involved. We'll have to let Robin know, but
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we should approve it subject to whatever the current rules are. 'Cause
yeah.
they could change too next
Mhm.
week.
Well, or even this week. I mean, I have a feeling Governor DeWine is going to come out and put some more restrictions back in.
Whatever they are, they are. So,
Right.
Right. We'll have to follow, yeah.
Yeah.
And the dates again, just to be clear for the notes, were August through October, right? Every Saturday?
All of August, all of September. I asked her if she'd be interested in October because I didn't want to have a conflict with the Chagrin Documentary Film Festival, but she said she didn't think she'd want to go into October.
Okay,
Okay, fine.
okay. So we don't have to vote to approve it then, because it's already approved, right? Or do we? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I just got off the phone with the State Department of Health, and they said that the 10 people for a public gathering is still in effect, other than for exempted activities, probably religious services, funerals, things like that. So the 10-person for public gathering restriction is still in place.
So she could only have 10 people at a class,
That would be my understanding.
even if it's outside.
That, again, that would be my understanding. I don't think the order specified any
Okay.
further.
And the only exceptions are church and funeral?
That was just,
Wedding, maybe.
there's a few exceptions under there, but it's not for park gatherings.
Mhm.
Well, isn't yoga kind of a religious experience anyhow?
Some would say so.
Well, again, if it's approved contingent upon the state guidelines, at least it gives them the flexibility for, as the guidelines change, they have the use available. And that's still the contingency. So if it's a contingent upon 10, for now, and in a month from now, if it's contingent upon 100, at least they have that flexibility.
Yeah,
moving
That's a
forward.
great idea, Christy.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It
if
is.
if she wanted to do a class with 10 people, she certainly could.
Mhm.
And maybe she will want to. I don't know.
That's all we have now at yoga. I had 8 people last night.
Yeah. Was that inside, Greta?
That was inside.
Yeah. So, of course, outside could draw more people, but still, I mean, she still might want to do that, and that's up to her. To me, that's up to Robin to decide.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to call her after this meeting to let her know what we've decided. So
Okay.
let's hope that by September, well, August is only a week and a half away, so. Okay. I will relay that to her. Does anyone have anything else?
I have a question, Anne.
Mhm.
Something came across my desk yesterday. I'm not sure if it has to do with the parks or Rob, if you could pipe in, if this has to do with you, we can talk about this offline if necessary. But I got a form for liquor, an institution notice for a liquor permit because River Falls Grill, the old Jekyll's is changing names, that we need to fill out this form. Is that anything that's familiar to the person dropping it off talked about the Parks Commission signing it?
Well,
But Rob, I feel
I-
like it should be,
Christie, I'll have to review that and
yeah,
see.
okay. Rob and I will look at it and let you know if it deals with.
That sounds like administrative, either Rob or the mayor.
Okay, thank you. It had something to do with parks on my notes, so I thought I would just bring it up in this meeting. Rob, I'll talk to you about it offline.
Okay. All right, then if we don't have anything else, I think we should schedule another meeting for August. And we're now doing it the third Wednesday of the month, so we're between council
Wait a minute,
meetings.
Permanently? Oh,
I think that was the idea. I mean, Christie, isn't that what we talked about?
Yes, it's helpful to have the meeting.
we were at the fourth Tuesday.
And the fourth Tuesday presents a problem because it's the day after council meets. So any parks application that you approve has to wait 2 weeks before it's presented to council. So that's creating a long approval process. Whereas if you move your meeting to a day or so, a couple of days before a council meeting, if there's anything that you approve, it can then go on the agenda for the next council meeting. So it promotes a faster turnaround time for park approvals.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be the third Wednesday of the month, right?
Right, so that would be the next one would be August 19th.
Mhm.
What's wrong with the second Tuesday?
The second Tuesday, the problem with that is it happens a day after a council meeting and it prolongs. My understanding is that a park application goes through parks, it gets approved, and then it goes to council for final approval.
Yeah, but there's the same distance between the second Tuesday to the following.
No, there's not. Oh, you were on the fourth Tuesday.
Right.
So
Yeah.
the bottom line is we're trying to get you in front of a council meeting instead of behind it.
Well, the second Tuesday would be the same as the third Tuesday.
We're not talking about the second Tuesday. We're talking about the
I know, but
third Wednesday.
I don't like Wednesday meetings. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, we could do
Third
the
Tuesday?
third Thursday. Well, the third Thursday is.
Third Thursday.
The third Tuesday.
When we
is-
get into the later part of the week, it's hard for me then to get it on the council agenda to turn it around that quickly.
Tuesday.
So like-
Tuesday is fine, except I have architectural board of review every
On
third
the first-
Tuesday
the
at
first and
8:30
the
a.m.
third. The first and the third.
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about the second Tuesday.
Be the day after council.
Again, it's a day after council meeting, so that presents a longer.
Would it? Yeah.
Are you flexible on time of day? So I don't mind the third Tuesday, but it would have to be at, 11:30 a.m. or so,
Just do it on Wednesday then.
once a
because-
month.
Yeah.
So am I penciling in the next meeting for August 19th, 8:30 a.m., which is the third Wednesday of August?
It's fine with me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
but again, then you've only got one council meeting after that. And then sometimes there's a big, if you did the first Wednesday, you'd be able to pick up all the council meetings from.
Sure. I don't care if it's the first Wednesday or the third Wednesday, because both of those present the same option of being in front of a council meeting. So you choose which you'd like it to be. I have no input. First Wednesday or third Wednesday?
Either one is fine with me. Anybody else?
Good with all that. I think
Yeah, either's fine.
So let's do it the first Wednesday.
When does, Christy, when does cemetery usually meet? That's usually a Wednesday.
Yeah, they meet the second Wednesday
Okay,
monthly. And again, that wouldn't work for us anyway to meet the goal that we're trying to achieve.
right. I don't, but I was trying to avoid the cemetery meeting.
Sure, you bet,
Um,
you bet.
So should we go with the first, August 5th then?
Does
Yeah.
anyone have an objection to the first?
First Wednesday, August 5th, 8:30 a.m., probably a Zoom thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Okay. August.
Oh, that's just,
And do we want to set this up as a recurring event from here moving forward as the first Wednesday monthly at 8:30 a.m. reserved for parks via Zoom?
yes.
Yeah, for a while anyway.
You got it.
Now, that August 5th meeting is just 2 weeks from now. We can meet, can be short, and
Yeah.
and then we'll get on a pattern.
And it's still nice weather, so somebody might come up with some other application request for
Right.
something.
And one
Okay.
Chagrin yoga event will have happened, right? Or no, not yet. Yeah, no, Saturday, August 1st would be their first thing. So,
Yes,
so we could discuss how that
yeah,
went.
that's a
Okay.
good idea. Thanks.
August 5th.
So then just looking forward, a couple, I have August 5th is the first Wednesday. That would be September 2nd is the first Wednesday.
Right,
That would be October
7th?
7th,
and so forth.
right,
Okay, I just want to put a few of those out into the future. Sounds good.
okay. Thank you, everybody.
Right. It was good to see everybody.
It was, I
Yeah.
wish we could see each other in person.
Yeah.
And Greta, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was married in the park.
Oh, congratulations.
In what park?
Russell Uplands. Right on Russell
Oh,
Road. Yeah.
so you couldn't do the
Were your
covered bridge
permits in
thing?
order?
Yeah. And we had our permit and we were good to go. So we had like 35 people and they allowed us to bring in chairs and then remove the chairs. I mean, that was basically all we asked for. That was good.
Greta, which park is Russell Uplands?
It's right off of Russell Road, like past Northwoods. There's that Cardinal Lane. It's
Oh,
Hmm.
on the left. It's a small little park. There's a lake or a pond.
It's
down
really
there.
pretty.
Yeah, it's really pretty there. Yeah. Yeah, it went really
So
well.
have you taken a new name or are you staying Greta and Solia?
I am gonna change my name, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay,
But yeah, Weber will be the last name.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
love
so
it.
It was perfect. It was perfect. And there was enough parking and everyone, of course, cooperated and picked their own chair up and took it back. You know, it was really nice. And there was a red-winged blackbird that was really obnoxious and loud. But other than that, it's beautiful. Our friend Greg Hill played guitar and it was just perfect. Yeah, lovely.
Can't hear you.
Oh, our friend played the guitar, so we had some music. And another friend officiated, and it was everything. It was the way weddings should be. I love it. It was small and intimate and perfect. So, yeah,
That's great. I'm so happy for you.
thank you, Anne. So yeah, that was another thing I wanted to bring up, and I can talk to you separately about putting on the agenda
Mhm.
about composting and private companies coming in to pick up composting and what the legality is with that. But it's not really parks related. I was just gonna talk to
Yeah, well,
everyone.
you and I can talk sometime.
Okay. All right. that's
Okay,
good. Okay.
we could even meet in the park and be 6 feet apart.
Yeah. Yep. And Marta watered half of your garden
I know she's doing such a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beautification has taken on the garden bed at Township Hall. Just because it was the garden that Kathy Watterson started, and Janine helped Kathy plant more plants a few years ago. And so we're just trying to keep that tradition going. And so Marta and Solia has been watering there this summer, which has been a real boon for us, because I was going over there with jugs of water every day. And I mean, I'm still doing that for urns where
Yeah.
merchants aren't there, or the little theater. And I feel like Gunga Din, but no, she's done a great job and we're really pleased.
Yeah, it's been hot, so the
Yeah,
plants have needed it. Yeah,
they have.
that's good. Yay. Well, next year will be different. We'll all be back to normal, right?
Right,
Sure hope.
absolutely. Okay, thank you, everybody, and we'll
Sure.
see each other in 2 weeks.
Yep,
Okay.
see you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Here,
Thank you.
Thank you,
Chris.
Christy.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Christy.
my pleasure.
9:22.